had plenty of flows. I was from the projects like J-Rock. I would've more than likely slang rock. All my life I done been around.
Poppin' with the population. It's another episode of Do Rag with the Cape Road. It's your host, me, Dre. I want to say, assalamu alaikum to the Ummah. Shout out to all of the subscribers.
Yo, you got the juice now, man.
Shout out to all the people that are potentially going to subscribe. I'm at 222 right now. The short-term goal is to get 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. The long-term goal is to get as many subscribers as possible. Shout out to you for taking in my content. I'm happy that you are having fun with listening to me speak about, political topics, socioeconomic topics, theological topics, just topics on top of topics. Check the description of this video for all these sources that I'll be citing within this work. Also, you can hit up my link tree and check out me on other platforms. And you can have my Cash App and Venmo if you'd like to donate to my content. You can also hit me up if you'd like to buy any of my merch, because right now I'm getting my website in order. I have pins, without pins. That's my brand. Nevertheless, this is the long-awaited part 2 to the discussion about how and why black and white exist as classifiers for African and European people. I had the strangest feeling. Yeah, y'all thought it was over, didn't you? Now, if this is your first time taking in my content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's set some precedents, first and foremost. The first one is, race is a social construct, and the insidious byproduct, which is racism, causes a chasm in self-worth. The second is, as far as I know, there is no place on the map called black, and there damn sure ain't no place on the map called white. Trust me, I looked. And third,
I would say nice to meet you, but I don't believe in time as a concept, so I'll just say we always met.
Now, to further delve into the inner workings of bigotry, I'll be speaking about how people use their theological beliefs to justify their hatred. Because why not? This would not be a bashing of any religion, because that is unfair to the idea of religion. You shouldn't blame the religion, but rather those that interpret it to fit their narrative through rewrites and whatnot. So dealing with ideology, you can break down how someone can come to the conclusion that they do. And you should be able to question that, because how else will we advance as a people? But outright blaming the theological beliefs doesn't push for overall understanding and change amongst the demos. That's the people. I just like saying demos, though. I like that word better. Nevertheless, this is an excerpt from Racism, A Short History. The Orthodox Christian belief in the unity of mankind based on the Bible's account of Adam and Eve as the progenitors of all humans was a powerful obstacle to the development of a coherent and persuasive ideological racism. Damn. What? End quote. Hold on. Damn. You see how villainous that is, to have a book in front of you that says one thing, but you're like, nah, there's got to be some wiggle room. I need to satisfy my penchant for hate.
I hate you, I don't even know you, and I hate your guts. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but
to quote in this hateration and holleration in this dancer. During the 16th and 17th centuries, a few venturous free spirits like Giordano Bruno and Christopher Marlowe included among their heretical speculations the theory that mankind had three ancestors, and that Adam was the forefather of the Jews only. How they came to this conclusion, whatever. In 1655, the Frenchman Isaac de not pronouncing that last name, a Protestant of Jewish descent, provided the first full exposition of the theory that Adam was not the first man, but only the first Jew. Okay.
What?
Good God. And people wrote this down. Okay. The theory of polygenius or multiple human origins challenged the orthodox doctrine of a single creation and the one blood for all of humanity, and could be applied in an extremely racist fashion. End quote. Breaking out ink quills to theorize hate amongst their peers. That's like some Legion of Doom level of evil, fam.
I hate you!
Back to this article. If Adam and Eve were to be thought of as simply white rather than specifically Jewish, and if the pre-Adamites, that's like a fire name. I don't know. Adamites? It just sounds like something that would be in Marvel. Whatever. Pre-Adamites were considered black and inferior.
What?
God. Somewhere between the descendants of Adam and the beasts of the field created earlier. Africans could be even more effectively dehumanized than through the invocation of the Hamitic curse. You know, I spoke about the curse of Ham in the previous episode. If you don't know what the curse of Ham is, just Google curse of Ham. You'll be pleasantly surprised at the level of hatred that one can reach.
I hate you!
Just to prove a point that no one asked them to prove. Because it's not a real point. Because it's, oh Lord. Back to this. Such doctrines might find some oblique support in scripture. Whence, for example, came for the people in the land of Nod, among whom Cain found a wife. But they remain difficult to reconcile with the orthodox reading of the book of Genesis. The theory of polygenesis would thrive only when the power of biblical liberalism declined. End quote. People who seek power, as I've brought up before, but I'll just keep hammering this point until we can all, be on the same page. And if you subscribe, you're definitely on the same page. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe so we can all be community. People who seek power need to control the narrative in every way. One of them is by making sure all representations of authority look like them. For instance, the depiction of Jesus Christ as a European man who more resembles Cesar Borgia than the Northeast African Palestinian that he was. And that isn't speculation. It is historical fact that Jesus was born in Africa. Like, that's, you can argue me down all you want to, but he was born in Africa.
Computer! Another idea stolen from the black man.
Just let it go. Because you'll be like, oh, Bethlehem. Be like, well, Bethlehem was a part of Africa, bro. He was Northeast African. Palestine was part of Africa. He was born in Bethlehem, which is in Palestine, which is part of Africa. Then the only reason why Palestine is considered a part of the Middle East, which the Middle East became a term in the late 1800s when they created the Suez Canal, and it was really a Western term, and it's really Swan. It's really the Southwest Asian, North African area. It's middle to the West, but it's a lot of mental gymnastics people do to remove identity and representation that has you believing that Jesus looked like an Abercrombie and Fitch model, when in fact, he was a Northeast African Palestinian Jew, or of Jewish faith.
It's crazy. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's just the fake out.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they try to mask it as.
Ooh.
And again, like I said, this isn't speculation. It is historical fact that Jesus was born in Africa. The change of appearance is for a reason. Imagine your oppressor looking exactly like your savior. Just let that marinate for a second. Representation does matter and can be weaponized against the people, whether directly, like when you see the media equate hip-hop culture to something poisonous for African people when they operate within it. And then the other angle is it being seen as something fun and trendy when everyone else does it. Idealism runs rampant within the framework of Eurocentric ideology. Because when you believe you're the center of the universe, there's sometimes no space for others. Excuse me. This brings to mind something I found from research called limpieza de sangre. It translates to purity of blood. This was a term used in Spanish and Portuguese colonies that placed old Christians on the top of the societal pyramid, discriminating against people of Jewish faith, Muslim faith, those they saw as new Christians, and others. Again, I've said this millions of times, but understand, race doesn't exist, and what connects a people is belief. That's it. Without going full Kufi.
What's up? What's up? Struggle is up, brother. Oppression is up, brother. Salami, eggs, and bacon. My name is Dewey. Oh, ba ba ba. Ooh, mama say, mama sa, mama kusa.
Full Kufi. Yeah, I'm rocking with that term because I feel like the mainstream media has destroyed woke. They've bastardized woke because it just means be aware, but they've made it into it's like something that's even tied into identity politics. And that's all just to kind of stop conversation about what's going on amongst the people, because the only way we're going to get better as a people is if we have a conversation so we can figure out who and what we should exactly be mad at and how are we going to change that. But back to it. I'm going to quote from this piece a few times called Limpieza de sangre, blood purity in Spain and Mexico. That further explains the forced division by theological beliefs, in turn laying the framework for racial divides. Here we go. Islamic Spain was a multi-religious society. Christians, Jews, and Muslims all called Iberian Peninsula home. They mostly lived within their own communities, but did intermingle to trade. When Isabella and Ferdinand conquered the region, these were two Spanish people, two king and queen. Well, queen and king, because I say Isabella first. You know, got to be respectable even to the ones you shouldn't respect. Nah, don't though. Fight back. When Isabella and Ferdinand conquered the region, they were faced with the reality of ruling a religiously divided country. Staunchly committed to the Roman Catholic Church, the monarchs wanted to impose religious uniformity in their domains. Muslims and Jews were given three options. You can convert to Catholicism, leave Spain, or die. End quote.
Y'all gonna get down or lay down? Get down. Huh?
So even with those threats of violence, some people within the colonies operated as, this term I've just found out researching this, crypto Jews and crypto Muslims. What that means is they claim to be part of one belief system outwardly, but secretly practice their maligned and theological beliefs in secret. Secretly doing things in secret. Secret squirrel.
Yo, Sonny!
But back to this article. The doctrine of limpieza de sangre came to dominate discourse during this period of conquest and religious chaos. Clerics and officials propagated the idea of a religious hierarchy based on descent. At the top of this hierarchy were the old Christians, which were the Spanish people who could trace their family's Catholicism as far back as possible. Although many Moriscos and Conversos, I'm destroying those two words. They're Spanish words. Basically, the word that I'm not saying right, the first one, is it's a Spanish word for Moors that were trying to convert to Catholicism. And conversos is a Spanish word for, and I don't even think I said that right, is a Spanish word for people of Jewish faith who were trying to convert to Catholicism. It was believed that their Muslim or Jewish ancestry had tainted their bloodline. So, you taking on a theological belief can taint your bloodline? Wow. All right. What? Back to it. No matter how devoted they were to the Catholic Church, these new Christians would always be inferior to those with established Christian genealogies. End quote. Fam, do you see how deeply embedded belief is to people who wanted to forge division? Christian genealogy. By definition, genealogy has to do with tracing ancestors. Christianity is a belief system. So what if you're a Christian faith, like you're a person of Christian faith, but didn't do everything Christian? Or what if you did nothing Christian and said you were Christian? Remember thou shalt not kill? Were those who took lives during the Spanish Inquisition Christian? You see how that logic kind of eats itself? Like, fam. Never mind, back to the article. Why was blood so important in pre-modern Spain, though? Much of it can be traced through Catholic Christianity. According to church teachings, Jesus Christ had shed his blood for the salvation of humankind. The church also upheld the doctrine of transubstantiation, the idea that the Eucharist and sacramental wine literally became the body and blood of Jesus during communion. Other Christian denominations have interpreted body and blood in more allegorical ways. But this does not diminish the importance of blood to Christianity's most crucial figure. So, you see how that's why, like, what are we doing, bruh? How can you tell a people, because they don't believe with you what you believe, that they either need to get out, convert, or die? And then if they convert, they still ain't pure enough because you can't trace back through their lineage Christian ways of life. Who are you to determine that? Oh, you going by the book, but then I don't think in your book it ever says to ostracize people. So aren't you kind of contradicting yourself by claiming somebody isn't a part of your Ummah?
Message!
What? Like, ideologically speaking, how is this not a cult? Now, I'm not saying people believing in a religion and having faith are a cult or are cult members. Bro, I'm Muslim, alhamdulillah. But what I am saying is the way these people interpreted their religion in the 15th century and how that logic manifested to causing what seems like an internal class divide dressed as racial politics is that of a cult. Speaking of cults, Lil Yachty. During his performance at the Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash Music Festival last month, he brought out his palatable representation of hip-hop. His YWA, which if you watch Atlanta, you know what that stands for. But if you haven't seen an episode of Atlanta, I'll clue you in.
Memorize this. Go to sleep dreaming about this.
What's a YWA, man?
Hey, young, white, avatar.
Now, while that isn't necessarily dangerous for the struggle to be liberated, although entertainment is the sedative for the masses, Lil Boat was wearing a Charles Manson shirt when he brought out his YWA. I'm just informing y'all about a lot of stuff that I've been reading, man. It's pretty heavy. For those who don't know, I'll give you a quick rundown on Charles Manson. He was a cult leader in the 60s who orchestrated the liquidation of lives based on his interpretation of the Helter Skelter song by the Beatles. And what else? The Bible. He also used the Bible to justify taking the lives of people. And a Beatles song. I don't even understand how those two correlate. I read about how he tried to make it correlate. Bro, the mental gymnastics, again, that one can do to justify their atrocities and their bullcrap is pretty amazing. He wanted to start a race war, because of course, specifically aimed at killing African people or the so-called blacks.
You kill the eggs, you kill the chicken, you kill the blacks. Start at the neck.
In fact, one of the people they liquidated was Gary Hinman, who was a friend of the Manson family. They tried to pin that on Bernard Crowe. He was a drug dealer they tried to rob, and that Charles thought was a part of the Black Panthers. So they attacked Bernard. He ended up actually surviving, but they took Gary's life, and when they took his life, they painted a panther fist in his blood on the wall. So when the police show up, they're just like, oh, the Black Panthers left their calling card. What? A race war's purpose is to have one dominant and all the others be subservient to that. So having people who don't seem to be of your culture be at the forefront of it while they profit off of it doesn't seem like a play on centering. Like, you hear people saying representation matters, but context does as well. So this isn't to say Lil Yachty is trying to subvert the culture and is an enemy of his own people and is trying to start a cult. Not saying that at all. This is more a look at class warfare, whether conscious or unconscious, because again, race does not exist. A people build a community through belief. This belief that white is right, which is part of white supremacy, that was birthed from Eurocentric centering, and that came from the slaver class wanting to promote class division by way of phenotype, doesn't benefit anyone. But the slaver class knows the only way to stop a revolution is to make sure all those that should be revolting are arguing with each other.
Message.
And again, this is part 2 of the origins of white supremacy. This might end up having more parts than Godzilla. I've recently found out there's 38 Godzilla movies. And Godzilla is actually an allegory for the, I think for World War II, for the bombing on Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the nuclear bombs, because, you know, the U.S. power structure was, I think, is the only people to have ever nuked a people. If you didn't know that, now you know that. And now you also know that there's 38 Godzilla movies.
Hear my cries, hear my call, lend me your ears, see my fall, see my errors, know my faults, time halts, see my loss, know I'm lacking, not tracking, where I met you, pistol packing, itchy finger, trigger happy, try to trap me, bad rap, why you tap me, backstab me, break the faith, fall from grace, tell me
I appreciate you for showing up. I appreciate you for listening. Like I said before, like, comment. If you are new here, subscribe. And make sure that you keep your do-rag cape rolled. All right, peace.
From the projects like J-Rock, I would've more than likely slang rocks. All my life I done been around Crips and Bloods, pimps and thugs.